Welcome back, everybody. All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody, and we got some good stuff going on today, as you'll see later with the wheel back here on the F-4, and dealing with some tug batteries. The weather today, we're not having anything fly, so we're not going to have anything going up that I can get some nice video. I'm glad you guys liked the Skyhawk video last week, because that was really awesome to see her fly. On a more serious note, something I am considering for the channel is changing the name of it slightly so it better reflects the content here on the channel, and considering a slight change. It'll still be Diesel Thunder, but it'll be more Diesel Thunder Aviation, kind of something like this. So, like I said, to better reflect the content, but I'm not fully decided on that yet. Let me know what you guys think on that. Now, if I do change it, it's not going to change anything for anybody that's subscribed to the channel at all. All your subscriber stuff will stay the same. But yeah, it's just something I'm considering for the channel. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that down below. With that, let's get on to the F4. Let's go take care of this wheel. All right, first order of business, and this is something you guys called us out on last week, is the brake stack, and there's a couple of plates that got flipped over. These are able to go, they can get flipped around and still work. And when they're new, they literally can go in either direction. And to go with that, they can go on either wheel, left main or right main here. But once they're used, you want them to keep going the same direction that they started in. So that's why you pull them off and stack them in the same orientation, and two of them are flipped around. And number 7 and number 14 are flipped over, so I'm going to go through and count them and flip those two back into the right orientation. Now, one thing to go with this is, notice that these are a little bit rusty, and that is because they just don't get used, or yeah, they just don't get used very often, and so they do get rusty. So one of the things we got to do, and we hinted at this last week, is you got to burn the brakes, and that's just what it's called. And you just get the aircraft rolling at a good speed and just get on the brakes, get them warm, and just start using them so they look more like a brake that is used frequently, so it doesn't have a chance to start developing rust. Because once they get rusty, they start getting grabby, and they can cause you to veer one side of the taxiway or runway. In really bad cases, you can end up with an off-runway incident, and we don't want that. So yeah, part of that process of getting her back in the air is we got to burn the brakes. So let me get let's get through and flip the number 7 and number 14 over. All right, now we got to just work backwards. So here's the pressure plates, and in between the pressure plate and the backing plate, you got 15 steels, and they alternate between rotors and stators. So this is number 15. This one was right. Here's number 14. That was backwards, so that's getting flipped over, and now that's right. All right, 13. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and number 7. Here we go. There. Now they're all correct. And just put it back in the right sequence. There we go. There. Now they're good. All right, so here's a better shot of what's going on inside the wheel itself. So these bolts are functionally equivalent to lug nuts on a car. And this is what actually holds the wheel onto the aircraft. This is part of the strut assembly back here. There's the bolts that hold the wheel on. These little guys right here, these are the little hydraulic pistons that push on the brake stack on the pressure plate. So those little pistons push on this ring, pushes this evenly, and this pushes into the brake stack. That's why it's called the pressure plate. And this is what brings the aircraft to a stop. And what we got to do now is torque these to spec. It's 300 inch-pounds on this, and you go in stages of 50. So you start with 50 inch-pounds and work your way around all 12, and then 100, 150, and so on until you reach 300. Our main torque wrench last week is broken, so we took that one out of service, and we used another torque wrench, but that could only get us to 250. We brought in another one this week so we can finish off the torque sequence and then get her off the jack. So once you torque these, you can put the you can lower the aircraft back on the ground, restack the brakes, and then put it together. And then this sequence will be done. And then just to keep in mind, this wheel is never going to fly. This is one of the old ones that we took off to put the new ones on. The new one decided to leak down. So we're putting this one on because this one still holds air, but we're never going to fly with this wheel. So at some point, this one will come back off too. Right. 1. 2. 3. All right, nice. Now they're all torqued. These don't get safety wired. They're not required to, and there's no provision for doing so in the first place. But they just get torqued to 300 each, and then she can go back on. She can go back on the wheel, and then we can restack the brakes. So I'm going to get her lowered down now. Make sure I don't do anything silly.
So that's the pressure plate?
Yeah, this is the pressure plate. And this goes on first.
Does that need to be torqued a certain way?
Nope, this needs to go on.
Okay.
And all the way seated. And then your alternating rotors and stators, which are flipped around to the correct orientation now. All the way in.
How are you able to tell the correct orientation on those?
There really isn't, other than as they come off, you just set them in the right orientation, which we got picked apart on last week, which is okay. That means, which I like, because that means you guys are paying attention to the videos and also keeping us on our toes, because we're not above criticism here. And a lot of you guys care and want to see this thing fly again, as do we. This is going to spike the audio. These ones are a little more challenging to get on. There you go. $17 pieces all in all. last rotor. Now, back of bolts and the backing plate, which,
Need me to hold that?
yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, just upright long enough so I can get a bolt or two in here. Now, for you guys there following along, these would normally get safety wired. Since this is not going to fly, these are not going to get safety wired at the moment, only because we're going to have to pull this tire back off once we get one back from the tire shop. Otherwise, we would be safety wiring it because you get all the holes in order to do so. Oop. Let's see. There are 8 total holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have all 8 bolts still. And if you get right there, get at least 2 started. Oops. Yep, that one's in. I'll go to the opposite side here. There we go. Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 7, and 8. There we go. That is done for now. Hopefully this picks up. So in these holes, and there's 2 because this wheel could end up on the left or the right main strut. So depending on which strut it ends up, this determines where the sensor is. But inside there, you see the little teeth. It almost looks like a gear. So that is what's called a tone wheel. And as the wheel rotates, the little teeth end up going past the anti-skid sensor, and it makes it pulse like an electronic pulse. And that's how the anti-skid system knows that the wheel is rotating. If the wheel stops rotating, these teeth stop moving past the little sensor, and that's when the system knows, hey, the wheel is no longer rotating, and it releases the brake pressure just a little bit, enough to get this thing to start rotating. All right, so this is the anti-skid sensor right here, and it goes into this hole, and this is what senses all the little teeth on the tone wheel inside the wheel there, and it's just a magnetic pickup, and this is what we do to get this in. So per the manual, you screw it in until it gets to this point where it bottoms out, and then you bring it back let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You bring it back 1.5 to 1 1/4 turns. So every 90 degrees is one of these. So where's it? That's bottomed out there. Actually, there. 1.5. There we go. And then I can line up one of these tab washers. With the hole, there we go. Yep, there we go. Now it can't rotate. And then we snug this down. The same setup. I've seen this same setup used on like large diesel engines. This is the flywheel would have one of those tone wheel setups on the back. That's how you measure your engine RPM, using a mag pickup with the same thing. You bottom out the sensor, and however many turns the manual had, you bring it back. I've seen what happens when you screw it in and don't back it off. It doesn't look pretty because the teeth chew up the end of these sensors pretty good. All right. So knowing this is going to come back off, I'm not going to torque or safety wire this, only because it's coming back out. And then there we go. Dummy plug is in, that's in. All right, moving on to other stuff. We got this tug that we had the battery go dead on, and well, the charger that I had on there threw a charge fail alarm. So pulled the charger off, put the meter on the battery again, and I got 4.7 volts. That's kind of the opposite direction from a charge. So that battery is toasted. That's a goner. But so this tug isn't going to move until I get a new battery on it. So what I am going to do is take the charger over to the other tug that looks like this, the heavy tug, and get its battery charging, because I want to be able to move that over to near where the forklift is so I can get it off the ground and pull that wheel cylinder out of that one brake. That way I can go get a replacement, put it in there, and get that tug back in operation, because that's the one that runs but it doesn't stop. This one, it runs. Well, this doesn't run at the moment, but this one runs. It just struggles to go in reverse. So yeah, our illustrious tug fleet, everybody. All right, T33. It's a project for another day. All right, let's see how this is doing. Oh, she's humming. 80% charge. That battery's coming along nice. This is the tug that doesn't stop because there's a bad wheel cylinder that's full of air on this side. But I need to get this to the other hanger so I can get it off the ground, so I can pull that wheel and get that cylinder out of there a lot easier. So we'll let this keep cranking. This can be left unattended. This controls itself. All right, I take that back. We got one more last-ditch effort with this battery by finding a ferro-resonant charger that we found over in the other hangar with the other tug that we just put the charger on. So I'm going to be nowhere near this thing, but I got the voltmeter clipped to it, and we're about to fire this up and see what we get. So let's see. 12 volts. You ready for this?
Let's go. 13 volts.
Hey! 13 volts. Now what? Oh, the fan's left. Okay, the needle hasn't moved. Huh. Went back to 5. Alright, now it's charging. We ran a different cord over to it. But that's what I'd like to see. Let's see what this thing does. Well, it's not spiking the amps, which is good. It's got the voltage up there though. So if anything, you could call this like a dumb charger, because it has no computer control at all. But we're not going to run this for very long or leave it unattended. We're going to keep an eye on this thing. Probably just let it charge for a few minutes to see what we can get done with this battery. Alright, so that just clicked off. That's been running for about 20 minutes or so now. And I don't know. I'm no mathematician here, but that is a lot better than 4 volts. Might just give her a little bit more of this thing. Might just let it sit for 10 minutes and see where it bottoms out too. So we'll keep an eye on this. Alright, it's over 10 minutes now. 11.5 volts. That's over twice what it was earlier, so definitely something to be said about these old school chargers. I think we might have saved this battery. It probably isn't going to perform like a new battery anymore, but we don't have to replace it. So we'll probably give her some more charge on this, and may end up putting a digital charger on it to finish her off. We'll see. Alright guys, that about wraps up for the hangar work this week. Wasn't a whole lot going on, mostly because, you know, it's cold and wet. But we got the F-4 back on her feet and took care of that battery. I'm gonna take a peek at that next week, see where it is, and see if we can put the smart charger on it. And one of the other things we found, we've got a new pitot probe cover here on the 262. The actuator is still out of this one for now. seeing what we can get done with that. So anyway, thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you next time.